All right. Well, welcome everybody. Thanks for being here and attending. Zulmara, thanks for the opportunity. And so, as you guys probably know, I was in Peru last week, traveling during times O COVID. Um, the purpose of the retreat that I called Soul Purpose was to really challenge all of us, all the attendees, to connect to our soul purpose. Why are we here in this life? And we did that, the technical part of it, we did that through going into past life regressions, connecting to the life that is most relevant to our purpose in this one, and connecting to it strongly to pull it forward and understand what happened in that life and what's happening in this one. Then we connected to another past life that was most related to the blocks that we chose to put into our way, which the blocks aren't there to keep us down. The blocks are there to help us evolve into the person who can fully live the purpose. And then we kind of brought it all together that all of us left in that space. And for me, the intention and purpose I had going in was to see myself really owning that space of being an international leader and leading international retreats. And who did I have to be to make that happen? I had to stop being angry. I had to stop being frustrated. I don't seem like an angry guy most of the time, but oh, you have no idea what's boiling under here sometimes. And every from the time I set the intention for this retreat a year and a half ago, that evolution has been taking place, because when you start a pathway and you say you're going to do, the universe starts to challenge you into that growth. Particularly the past 2 months have been incredibly intense with flight changes, restrictions, more flight changes. Oh, did I mention flight cancellations and more changes? And right down to the last minute, everything being fluid. I've got some slides from the other things that we did while we were there with Daniel Gutierrez, former president of this organization, who now lives outside of PSAC with his retreat center, Catalina, which is where we stayed. We did the retreat work there, and then also went out to visit the indigenous communities along with the sites of Peru. And I want to share here, you may have seen Daniel's video from the day that I departed on Friday. We started off the week with, no pun intended, a fire ceremony. When there was a very nice welcoming fire in the fireplace, and we had a wonderful dinner, went to bed, and I took a sleeping pill because I'd been traveling for quite a while. I wanted to make sure I got a good night's sleep leading into the retreat starting the next morning. Heard a little bit of commotion, but in my haze, I'm just kind of out of it. Woke up the next morning and found that there was a hole in the roof of the reception center because a wire had overheated from the fire, caught the underlying roof material on fire, and the interior of that section of the roof around the chimney had burned out. And
So the fire was not at his new building. It was in one of the existing structures.
yes,
Oh, okay.
yeah, and it burned a hole maybe like 4 feet in diameter or so till it was put out. That swimming pool that I wanted to cannonball into was half full the next morning because the way they put it out was a bucket brigade of local volunteers because the fire department was off. And that turned into a blessing as well, because it turned out, had the fire department been on, and if they brought their truck out and used the hose, it would have destroyed the building. So wound up just with a hole in the roof to repair, which was done by Friday.
Wow.
When we left, the exterior was finished and they were starting the interior patching of the ceiling that morning. And that's what community does. He has spent so much time down there building community, getting connected into all the regions around PSAC, all the individual communities, and with the local leaders, that as he has helped them, they came on board and said, we're taking care of you this time. We will have this done by the end of the week. And they had it done by the end of the week.
Wow.
Here, you wouldn't even have a permit by the end of the week to get started.
No.
It was awesome to watch. And people, there's such I think the true magic of being there last week was seeing how the communities come together and help each other. That people who there's so little there, and they depend a lot on tourism to sell the beautiful um, silver and crystal and the scarves and tapestry that they make, the weavings. There's nobody's been there for 6, 8 months, 9 months now. I was the second group that Daniel had this year. And I'll be the last one this year. His next group doesn't come until March. To see these people who they know how to live off the land, they know how to connect to the land, just come together and take care of each other so that everyone thrives at some level in that giving community was truly a blessing to watch. They are such a wonderful, loving, giving people. It left a profound impression. So do you guys want to see some pictures? What do you want to?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay. Let's do it.
Definitely see some pictures, yes.
So we call this armchair travel.
Armchair travel, there we go. So these are my travelers and I after arriving in Cusco, getting our money exchanged. So we had local soles to pay for food and anything off-site.
Look at that mask.
Oh, I love that mask.
So do I.
This was the welcoming fire that turned into the fire ceremony.
Oh, wow.
It looks very unassuming right there, but it expanded. This is Daniel's place the next morning. We had some low clouds. The retreat center sits around 8,000, 8,500 feet, right in the middle of the four mountains, and it's absolutely beautiful. That afternoon, we did the retreat, the initial phase of the retreat work going into the past life most associated to the purpose in this one. And then we went out to visit the ruins of the ruins above Pisac. Wonderful old structures, very powerful place to be. And our guide was Simone, who he is actually the president of the organization, the conservation organization, and he makes shamanic flutes. I bought one from him while I was there. Really cool guy. And he toured us around, gave us all the information on the Pisac ruins, also led a wonderful meditation while we were there. And he pointed out that as you walk into the ruins, if you look up at one of the hillsides, you'll see all these holes cut into the hillside. And these are steep hills. And these are all old tombs that were raided by the Spaniards when they came in looking for gold.
Oh,
And this
wow.
little white dot here in the center of this red circle
Oh, wow.
is a human skull.
Oh,
And look, there's some
wow.
rib bones down here, and there's, I think, some arm or leg bones up here. But you can just kind of spot it with binoculars. I was lucky my camera zoomed in enough. That was the extent of my zoom that you could at least see it.
Wow.
The rest is all digital.
That's
The power of
incredible.
this place, it's up in the mountains again, like 8,000, 9,000 feet. And the clouds coming in, just blowing through, creating this mist was mystical, no pun intended. Another shot of the wall looking out into the hillside. Look at the intricacy of these structures built hundreds of years ago. And then this is a view looking out. This is Pisac down here in the valley, and we're looking out from one edge of the ruins. This gorgeous, gorgeous countryside full of life. On Tuesday, we did, I'm going to stop share for a moment. Tuesday is when we experienced the local shaman and did Wachuma, which is a plant medicine facilitated by the shaman. And that was an all-day experience of very, very interesting, different than other plant medicine that I've taken part in. I'm used to plant medicine where we stay in conversation and kind of facilitate through. This one was very much a personal process of relaxing and being and working into the heart. It's a heart opening medicine, and allowing and discovering. I discovered what my biggest challenge in life is and released it. It was something way down in the pit of my stomach that I always knew was there but never had a name for it. And what came up through the early processing was a lot around separation particularly separation of parent and particularly mother, and how that played out through relationships throughout my life, and the one that broke it, which is the relationship that I'm in currently. And when the medicine really kicked in, it was interesting. I had been in my room because I just wanted to be away from everybody for a while. And when it was time and I heard the voice say, you need to go outside now. You need to get out in the sun. Mm-hmm. I went out in the sun. I wandered around the gardens, really connected to the earth. And as I was walking along the grounds there in Catalina, I stopped and looked at a tree, watched some birds. I'm like, okay, I'm looking at birds, I'm watching trees. I'm completely in my head. Mm-hmm. And then I looked down at this flower, and I saw a tiny beetle about the size of a ladybug in the flower, but it was striped instead of spotted. I'm like, that's kind of a cool bug. And I sat down to look at it, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw the shaman coming my way. He sat down next to me, and he's like, I'm good. He started drumming and singing. And in that moment, I lost it. I just started bawling. The beauty of the voice, just the energy of the moment shifted like that. And I was into the experience full on, crying, rocking. That's when I also threw up, which is sometimes part of the process, not always, but you know, I'm a completist. And the cleansing that came from that was powerful. What happened next shocked me, because I didn't know that I had that deep of a scream in me. And it was truly primal. I was aware enough of my voice to know that I sounded like an angry, wounded bear. Mm-hmm. And it built and it built and it built. And then the last one, I just threw my head back in my whole body and I roared.
Oh, wow.
And it was all gone.
That's great.
The visual at that same time was interesting. So I'd put my head in my hands. I'm in this space where I'm going back and forth between sobbing and laughing in almost maniacal joy. Connecting to the altar. It's so amazing. Oh my God. It's so amazing. Oh my God. And when like the darkness started, the shadow started coming up, I put my head in my hands. And what I sensed, what I saw very clearly, what looked like a black well, black stone, and then filled with oil. And as I'm looking down into it and I'm screaming, I wasn't full on rocking back, it was initial rocking. I sensed that as I'm staring into the well, there was a choice to be made. Like you can go in, you can come out. And the deeper the screams got, the shallower I sensed the well becoming. Until at the very end, the last thing I remember seeing before I let out the deepest last howl was it had filled in to the point where it looked like water rolling over a sandbar. You could see that it had filled in, and it was just kind of the liquid was flowing away. And then after that scream, it was gone. So this pit, wherever it came from, wherever I learned it, whatever I've been carrying it for how many lifetimes, it's gone. And it changed so much, connecting to the love of the moment. And I just laid back and looked up at the sun, looked up at the stars. One of Daniel's dogs, Inti, was there. And I walked over, sat down. Inti curled up in my lap, and I just sat there and picked cockleburs out of his fur. It was a truly awesome moment, and one I'll never forget. It was a deep experience.
Wow. It's moving.
Then the next morning
incredible.
Yeah, it was a very different experience than I was expecting, but one that was absolutely necessary. It was, if you are ever open to doing it, I offer it as an experience to take. This is Wednesday morning when we were up at nearly 15,000 feet watching sunrise come up over the Andes. Local shaman came out. We built a small fire to keep us warm and watched the sun come up, and that is the beginnings of it coming up. We were up above the clouds here. We're actually watching lightning and thunderstorms over here in the valley from above the storm, and panoramic as the sun was coming up, of the sunshine kicking in over here. It was a cold morning. It was about 38 degrees, but it was awesome. And then this was one of the shaman posing above the clouds that morning. We then went to a site with hieroglyphics where we were welcomed into the local communities and each given names from their ancestors. Mine is Hotos, Hos, Hostino Suta. And they lit a fire, did a despacho ceremony for us there, welcoming. This rock is kind of shaped like half of a chimney. It curves up and is somewhat hollow. So the hieroglyphics are over here in this corner to the right. And that's me and my garb being welcomed into the family.
Oh, how exciting.
And more, there's Christy in her traditional garb.
Oh.
And two of the shaman. This gentleman here is the shaman who led the mourning. And Daniel was sharing with me that back when the Smithsonian was doing research and documenting the ancestors of the Inca, this is the guy they brought in.
Oh, wow.
Super power, really amazing man. And then we went and had a lunch, late breakfast, early lunch with them. This is a quinoa soup, potato, something that resembled spinach, and I believe carrot in there as well. There's also some steamed potatoes. There's over 3,500 varieties of potato in Peru, and they all have distinct properties. They're amazing. And then we went to another community where we had another different style of the same quinoa soup, and this was one of the women who's connected to Catalina. This is her mother and I believe father and brother, who then sang and danced for us. They're just wonderful. I can't explain how giving and loving this experience was. This is another shaman, Carlos, who's a phenomenal healer. This is Thursday morning at a site called Urco, which is a solar calendar building, very holy site. When we walked onto this site and he had us take our shoes off, you could feel the power here.
Oh, wow.
This one is amazing. He took us around, then brought us into the altar, which is this cylindrical building, performed a ceremony for us and did a cleansing, did a connecting. Powerful. I was shaking as he was working with me. There, Christy is getting her cleansing with his condor feathers. That led us to Friday, where we were, I will say, we were unable to go to Machu Picchu because of a rail strike on this trip. So on Friday, we went to two sites, one called the City of the Fleas. The backstory on it is that there was a gentleman who wanted to marry the king's daughter, and the king said, no, you're not. He didn't like that idea. So he infested the gentleman's room with fleas in an attempt to kill him, and he wound up infesting the entire city and killed everyone. But as you look at this panoramic, you can see the buildings going all the way back here in the distance. The site is larger than Machu Picchu. Machu Picchu has taller structures. This one is broader. Another a sense of just how big this property is.
So no fleas, right?
No fleas. No fleas. And then we went to a sacred water site. This is Tipon. The water that flows here, and you can see some of it here in the corners where it flows down, all this aqueduct structuring. They still don't know where the water comes from that flows here. And this site is massive as well, going well up into the mountains. Although while they were excavating that site, they did find this creature who looks somewhat like a cross between a very, very, very large flea and an armadillo. And you can see, I don't think that's Daniel in the back. That might be Daniel there. You can get a sense of just how big this thing is, seeing a person in the background. And that's one of the waterfalls at Tipon. And we finished our day on Friday with a tour of the Plaza de Armas in Cusco before I jumped on my plane to head back to the US. So I can't describe just how magical this trip is. To be in Peru, there is something about that land that doesn't just come from being at twice the height of Denver. There's a magic that comes from that too. But being there with these people who are so connected to the earth, it was fascinating to hear that shaman, the one I mentioned, to hear him talking about their approach to COVID, that COVID came through the valley.
Mhm.
And he said, we knew it was coming. We already were aware of it. And we went out, we ate the foods, got the fruits, did the things we needed to do to make our bodies strong to fight it off. And he was actually very adamant about how they are losing their ways because of the government imposing pills on them and medications, saying that we don't want it, but we have to take it because they give us the money so that we can continue living, but we're losing a lot of our ways in the same time. And that was sad to hear, but to see how vibrant and thriving these people were through everything that's gone on this year, that they're still there. They're living off the land. They're so beautifully connected to it, and such wonderful open hearts. It really truly is magical.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Wow. I mean, that culture is so rich in living off the land because they've had to live off the land their entire lives.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing to me how the government would not just honor that and say, you're living off the land. We could learn some things from you, right?
Exactly. You would think that would be the people they would be going to learn how to beat it,
Yeah.
rather than trying to force it in some way. That there was somebody else, Daniel was telling me the story, when it came into PSAC, and guy went to his doctor and said, what should I do? Doctor said, go home, be sick, let it run through your system, and you'll be fine. Like, what an awesome.
Right.
They say what they ate and they used to
He
help them.
didn't. I think that's the family secret there. They didn't share that. They didn't let us into the family that close yet. Maybe on the next trip.
In
Wonderful.
Brazil, they still discover indigenous people that have not met up with modern man. And every time they've had governments that have been very protective. Their current government is really awful. And the indigenous people have been fighting for their lives and their livelihood, because they basically live deep in the Amazon jungle, and it's a lifestyle that constantly replenishes itself, and things grow so quickly. And of course, there's this race to burn the Amazon, and let's see how fast we can do it, because we need cattle grazing lands. And they have been trying to take these people off of their lands for a long time. So governments do crazy things.
Mm-hmm.
When I was there, they happened to have a government. It was Lula who was in charge, and he was really into protecting the indigenous people. So when we went up to meet with, and they called them brasileros, when we met up to meet with the brasileros, they were actually in a really good spot and having a really good time. But they said, it's feast and famine for them, depending on how the government leader is responding to indigenous sovereign groups living in the Amazon, because they don't want to, some governments don't want to recognize that they're a sovereign group. So they are subject to things like everybody's going to get immunized, everybody has to take these pills, everybody has to do. And then some governments leave them alone and leave them as a sovereign nation, so you don't have to follow our rules. It's just really sad to see the imposition. Even after
It is.
all these years of everything we've learned, that we still do that.
Yeah. You would think we would know better.
Yeah, you would think we would know better, but yeah, we still do that. We still do the imposition. When COVID first started, there were news reports out of China that 6 months before COVID, and COVID probably hit China sometime in August, and sometime in January, Wuhan, China had decided that everybody 75 and older was going to get a vaccine for a flu, whatever that was. And then all of a sudden, 6 months later, you have these people just dying. And you're just like, what was in that vaccine? What was in that It was just a little bit too coincidental. And of course, it's China, so all the information you get is really choppy. But it was just too coincidental that you go through and you vaccinate all your 75 and above year olds, and then all of a sudden, 6 months later, they're just like dropping. And you're doing mass graves, and you're just like, okay, there was something wrong with that water.
Seriously.
Yeah, that doesn't just happen. And I don't know, who knows where COVID actually came from, but you know, there was an old lady who swallowed a fly story. It was the cat that ate the rat, that ate the mouse, that ate the fish, that ate the bat, that bit the man. That's just kind of like a little bit too fairy tale-ish.
I have my year of the bat quarter, so I'm sticking to that.
Yes. So Dan, you can share your last slide. That gives us the
Yeah.
date for your next
That was a
trip.
great tour. Thank
I
you.
think because
You're welcome.
since we'll post the recording and send it out, it would be nice for people to see.
Sure. So we're going to go back and do it again twice next year. July 4 through 10, which will be winter in Peru. Temperatures will be in the mid to upper 40s during the day, 30s at night if you love cooler weather. And also October 17 to 23. The regular price for the trip is going to be $29.95. There's an early bird discount in place for both with $24.95. If anyone reaches out to me, since it's being recorded, I'll cross off tonight. If you let me know that you saw this through the LBHCC meeting, I'll drop an additional $200 off the trip. That price does not include airfare. It includes all of our meals at Catalina, your room, and all the visits to the sites that we go to. Yeah, it was truly a trip, not just the sightseeing and the experiences, but also the retreat itself, the connection to purpose, the unleashing of that purpose, and the removal of the blocks. Both participants who were the adventurers on this first trip, who said, we're going through COVID, we're going to make it, had profound shifts in their understandings of their life and everything that they've come through to this moment, to now kick it into another gear to live at an even higher level moving forward.
Well, I'm sure Daniel must be tickled because when we went, we did like 6 different hotels, and we were changing hotels like every night.
Yeah.
And he had this really complicated system of getting us from one place to another, and you had to have smaller bags for this, and you were going to leave your main luggage here, and then you were going to get it back, and he had to rent the rental space to store the stuff so we could. It was a feat in management, and he didn't have the space except for one opportunity when we did do plant medicine. We did San Pedro. To actually do the retreat stuff that he wanted to do. We had that, and then we had one other small hotel where we could do a little bit of work, but he kept saying on that trip, I really need to have a space so that I can really get deep into the shaman work and work with the shamans here, because I feel like this is too disjointed. People come and they go see Machu Picchu, but they don't have that deep experience that he was trying to create. So it's really nice to hear that he's actually been able to find and cultivate a space that does that.
Yeah, it is so efficient, so streamlined, such a great place to be as a central landing space to do the work for the retreat leaders who come in, and then be able to go out and visit the communities, visit those other sites like Machu Picchu when there's not a rail strike going on, and just really be immersed into the Sacred Valley. And it was beautiful to be there. You could feel the energy of it just being. And then I think I shared, as we were talking before the meeting, the presence there of being at altitude, like roughly twice the height of Denver, that you become very mindful of your steps, particularly me living here and us in general living here at sea level. It's a very different experience walking and moving and breathing at 8,000 feet. And you become incredibly mindful very quickly of your steps and your presence in the moment. And it's incredible how that mindfulness then leads to other levels of mindfulness in your life and experience.
All right. Anything else, or should we switch to Shannon?
I think we should switch to Shannon now. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How do you follow that? No, that was amazing. I mean, that was very inspirational. I wanted to go to Peru for a very long time, so that's fantastic. You had mentioned a couple things that I think actually kind of tie in, with all of the COVID, and you were talking about even the communities over there and the people, they're losing their jobs, right? They're losing their income. People are not being able to really have that freedom that they would like, or the amount of people to come in to actually provide for their needs. And so this is creating a huge, I was actually kind of surprised to hear how much of an impact it's having everywhere. Even, because we're here, right? So we have this idea it's only happening here, where we may have some inklings of over there, but to hear, even in the smallest of villages, that they're being affected largely, that's really it's eye-opening to hear. We stay in our little secluded little spaces, and we don't venture out as much. But going out, you really do get to see and explore and experience other people and other cultures. But what I wanted to talk to you guys about today was about how do you create abundance, and how do you even create in this type of environment? We have this, have you guys heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs?
Yes.
Yes.
So in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I actually was given a long time ago, the angels wanted me to rewrite Maslow's hierarchy of needs, because they were saying that although there's a lot of people in the lower level needs of the basic needs, there's a lot larger group that's actually going through a huge transition, that's moving towards that. Now, we'll call it self-actualization, but it's actually towards mastery and teaching and moving into that energy. And so when we think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, this whole pandemic has thrown everybody, for the most part, into that survival mode again. How do you get out of the survival mode? You've got people that are losing their jobs. You've got people that are divorcing. I know of a couple who, they are an amazing couple. They're giving, they're loving, and you look at them and you're like, oh my God, this is an amazing couple. I got a text from her 2 days ago saying, I'm done with him.
Oh, wow.
What'd you say, Zulmara?
I said, oh, wow.
Yeah. I was kind of like flabbergasted at this, and even the best couples that I know, they're at each other's throats. I'm looking at society today, and I'm looking at how much people are really kind of jumping on each other, and there's just so much unrest, and all starting from, I know this energy has been moving for quite some time. The angels have said, all these waves are coming through, and I've been doing video after video about these waves and about the things that are coming through. And they did not, of course, they did not say, okay, you're going to have a massive wave hitting now, and it's going to affect everyone in the entire world. I think they kind of just figured that I would guess on that one, or I would, be able to foresee it. I did foresee, and I think a lot of us foresaw, something big was coming. And we just kept saying something big is coming, and we just can't quite put our fingers on, like, what is this big thing that's coming? So if we look at society as a whole, we're being limited. Our freedoms, but not only just our freedoms, but our ability to move is limited. And how do we keep ourselves healthy in this pandemic? We need to be able to have interactions with people. How do we build your immune system? Interact with people, and they were saying eating the foods. They went out and they got the foods, that's interacting as well. And then physical activity. They locked us down in Los Angeles and said, stay in your homes. How is that helping? Right? So people are getting frustrated. But now this huge response to change is causing a lot of fear. And first thing I say, turn off your TV. Like, just turn it off. I've had so many people tell me, you don't watch the news? And I'm like, no, I haven't watched the news since 9/11, actually. I actually don't watch regular program TV at all. I like to watch some very lighthearted stuff on Netflix, but I stay away from it. People tell me, well, you need to be informed. You need to make sure that you're informed. And I'm thinking to myself, informed by whom? Are we going to be informed by the media? Are we going to be informed by Facebook experts? Who are we being informed by? All of our family members and our friends have now become experts on what's happening, right? And to them, it's their truth. But I think that one of their responses to all of this stuff that's happening is to become experts on it, is to know in their minds that they have a handle on what's happening. They understand it. And you were just saying, Zolmara, we don't understand it. We don't really know. Mm-hmm. And actually, to be honest, we don't really know what's going on.
Right.
We
right.
have ideas.
Mm-hmm.
So how much can we really be informed, right? And so my response is, if I need to know something, the angels will give it to me. They will, they'll have me look up something, or they'll guide me the way that I need to be guided. And a lot of people say, well, you live in the clouds. And I say, well, I actually am staying out of the sludge. So I think of this 3D realm, if we're looking at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the bottom 3 levels, although they're necessary, are sludge. And I think of them as a pool of sludge. You've got all these negative emotions. I need to survive. I need to be loved. I'm mad at that person. Oh my God, look what they're doing to me. And it's just this cesspool of negative emotions, the fear, the hate, the anger, the blame, the depression. I mean, it's just so much. And then you ask yourself, how do I help people? If someone is drowning, the first thing they tell you is don't jump in after them, because if that person can't swim, guess what they're going to do? They're going to claw at you and you're down, right? So the best way to help them out of that is to get yourself out of the sludge first and be able to pull them up as they're reaching for help. I even say, get out of the sludge, rinse yourself off, and get a ladder. Let them come up, show them, give them the tools that they need in order to get out of that. So that's the great thing about staying out of the news and staying out of the media. And that's what I really love about I'm going to call us our metaphysical community, right? In this metaphysical community, we kind of understand and appreciate the fact that we need to get out of that lower level emotion, that we can't be part of the drama. We can't create the drama. We need to help people deal with the drama and deal with what their feelings are about it. I don't know about you guys, but lots of clients with depression, anxiety. I've had 2 clients attempt suicide in the past month. And I mean, I've had friends who have called me and said, I'm taking myself out. And I'm thinking to myself, why, right? We're looking at this whole thing as a terrible thing. And yes, it is, but we could also change our perspective. There's so much good that has happened from this. I was on an Instagram Live today, and we talked about this. We manifested this. We actually created this. How many of us in this world said, I wish I can work from home. I wish I had more time. Oh my God, I hate my job if I have to go into that job one more day, right? I just really want to do this job. I want to create this, but I don't have the time to do it. All of us collectively put those thoughts into the universe, and the universe said, as you wish. We created this whole thing. And what's so amazing about it is that we actually have a chance and an opportunity to look at this as as the wonderful, amazing opportunity to create. And that's what I've been doing ever since this started. Yes, it hit me hard. And in the beginning, I was like, I don't like to be limited. And I don't know about any of you. I don't like to be told what to do. And I definitely don't like being told what to do from people who are fearful, because I don't jump in the fear cesspool, right? I don't like to swim in it. I want to be informed a little bit on how to create health and immunity, and then I'm on my way. And so I had to kind of figure out what is really going on here. And I really went deep within. And when I went deep within, I realized that what was really going on here is we are being given a chance to look deeply at ourselves, to really take a very deep, authentic look at ourselves and get into that space of who am I and how did I get where I got? Daniel, you said something really amazing. You said, I was able to sit there and feel that what was going on inside of me. And I didn't have a name for it, but I was able to release it. And had this whole thing not have happened, you may have been able to go through that, but you would not have taken such a deep look inside of yourself.
Very true.
God, I've spent hours upon hours in this whole pandemic looking at every piece of my life and saying, how have I created this? Because none of us are victims. And I always say, if you want to be a leader, you cannot be a victim, because you can't be a victim and a leader at the same time.
Exactly.
And so what I did was, and I'll give you an example. And I've said this example several times, but I was miraculously saved, but shot in the Las Vegas massacre. Now, the angel stepped in. I actually saw it way before. I saw it 2 months beforehand, was able to heal myself, past, present, and future, existing all at the same time. Bullet went in and out the same way it came in. It was actually, people saw it, they saw the light, they saw everything. Gabriel appeared to me and said, I slowed the bullet down enough so that the energy could take care of itself. But in that moment, for all those 22,000 people, you would say they're victims. And I say they're not. They, beforehand, yes, they're survivors, definitely. But before we got here, we aligned that in our path. And we did that with choices. And the choices that we made created our circumstances to be in that spot. And in my authenticity, I was in a relationship that was heavy for me. And what I do when I feel hurt is I want to escape. I want to go. I want to be by myself. I want to not have to deal with it. I want to think about it. You know, I like to cave. I like to think about things. The old me would have been the vulgar, give it to you, tell you the way it is. But I had shifted so many years ago when I had this huge awakening for myself. And so my responsibility in it was I chose to go there because I was running away from hurt and pain. So my responsibility in the fact was I was there because I was avoiding something else. And so I had to take responsibility for that. And I was there because I was meant to be there. It was not something that happened to me. It was something I agreed to spiritually. And I will tell you, the biggest awakening or the biggest remembering happened in that time. Because when that happened, actually a couple months before that, I had a memory of a past life where I remembered how to heal the body and affect the energy in the body with my thoughts. I could go in to the brain and create new neural synapses. I could go into the body and heal pain. And it was amazing. So then when I had this experience, all of that exploded and it just became a knowingness. It became like a second nature thing, like something I can't explain. I can just reach in and do. And it was because of that that I was able to have that experience, or now actually help more people. I can reach into the brain, I can reach into the body, but I agreed to have that experience. So in no way, shape, or form am I a victim, because I was there because I needed to be there. And I needed to have that awakening. There's a movie, I'm probably gonna say the wrong name, but I think it's called Shattered. It's where the two movies come together, where Bruce Willis was the survivor of a train wreck. He was the sole survivor. And then there was the other guy who had the multiple personalities. And they brought them together. And the message there was, with every traumatic event, another piece of our brain activates. And it allows for us, it gives us the opportunity to have some sort of amazing ability, or to remember an amazing ability. We all have it. No one here is Superman. We know how to focus and hone our abilities. We know how to pay attention to those little differences so that we can really open up to what we're remembering. So if we look at COVID now, none of us are victims. And we can look at this and say, look at the opportunity that we've been given. Look at what we've been given by the universe. The universe said, you want to slow down? Here you go, right? The universe said, you want to finish that project? Start packing that up, wrapping it up in a nice box with a good bow. You know, as my friend Xavier says, get that thing looking pretty. So when it finally does open up, you can run with it. So work on those projects, you know, take care of yourself. I always look at it like, you know, we're all spirits having human experiences. And so if we're spirits having human experiences, we chose to have this experience, and we can choose to look at it in a different way. We can shift that perspective. We can create beautifulness. I have clients come to me all the time because I do life coaching, and aside from energy movement and angelic communication, I do coaching, and I have a business degree, and I actually was doing a business consulting for a very long time. And so I have people come to me and they're like, but what about the money? You know, my money's been limited because of XYZ. And I always say, you've been given an opportunity to shift from a job you hate and create something you love, to really kind of look at your abilities and look at what your strengths are and create from that. And a lot of people will tell me, well, I don't know how to do that. And I say, look at what society needs and compare it to what you are able to give, what your specialty is. Every single person in this world is able to do that. We have specialties, we have experiences. Use those to create bigger, better, more spectacular. And some people will say, well, that takes a lot of money. No, it doesn't. It takes drive. It takes one step at a time. You just keep moving forward. The other day, I was talking on a group talk, and one of the things is that, you know, a lot of people in the world, they'll talk the talk. Oh yes, I'm a light worker. I love to help people. And they're the first ones to be panicking about what's going on, right? And we are actually being called, and I don't like to use the word light worker. So can somebody give me a better word? Like something that's more inviting than light worker?
I'm drawing a blank.
Let me know when you have it. But
Yeah, I'll let you know when I have it.
Yes, because I think we should create a new word tonight. I think we should create something that actually means we're walking the walk and talking the talk.
Vibration shifters.
Ooh, I love it.
I
love it, Daniel. And you know, truly, for those people who came here to be vibrational shifters, they need to pull their big boy pants up, their big girl pants up, and walk the walk. You know, tighten those tennis shoes, put some nice comfortable shoes on, because you're going to be walking. You know, it's time to stand up. It's time for us to help those people that are, you know, wanting to commit suicide, that are wanting to leave this world.
Right.
And for the people that are in anxiety and depression and divorcing. I mean, we as those people who can help people raise their vibrations, it's time for us to step up and say, we are here to help. We're here to get you through this hard time, because we don't know what's going to be a month from now, 2 months from now, but we can start building the vibration of people at this moment, because we can only live in the now and move each moment every day. The one thing I love about my job, and I'm sure every single one of you do, is I can go to bed knowing that I helped somebody today, that I was able to inspire somebody today.
Yes.
You know, people don't remember what you say, but they do remember how you make them feel. Right?
Yeah.
So I say, the biggest question to me is, how do you create abundance at this time? Or how do you create money flow? Get rid of those limiting belief systems. Get rid of that deer in the headlights. I don't want to move because I don't know what's going to happen. You got to move because the cliff is starting to fall away. If you don't jump, you're going to fall with it. You know, you've got to make sure that you move. There's an amazing picture that I saw of this little girl with a ragged teddy bear behind her back. And she's like, but I love this teddy bear. And Jesus is standing there with a bigger teddy bear behind his back. And he's like, just give it to me. And she's like, but I love this bear. And, you know, there's so much being offered to us. All we've got to do is take that leap of faith and walk in our walk. So I feel like I've been on a soapbox, but I'm so passionate about this. This is like my thing.
Yes, and it's extremely powerful. One of my friends commented the other day that he feels like he's mourning a life he didn't even want to live. And he's struggling with that, because he's like, I feel like I'm grieving and I'm in mourning for what I had. But when I looked at what I had, it wasn't what I wanted, exactly what you were saying. And I'm going through this mourning and grieving for a life that's gone, but it wasn't even the I wanted. But he can't get his vibration so that he can get above it all and say, okay, I can move beyond this. So he stays at this mourning and grieving and woe be to me kind of a thing, as opposed to, but at least he's gotten himself to the realization of, that wasn't even a life I wanted. That wasn't even what I wanted to do. And it's been really interesting.
Yeah.
Really,
and how
really
many people say that?
Yes.
I'm in a life I don't want.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say that. I will say I am so grateful to the universe. The moment I turned my energy over to the universe and said, I will be exactly where you need me to be. I give my energy over to the universe because I trust in the universe. The moment I did that, best moment of my life.
And I remember when this all started and people were talking about quarantining and locking down, and I'm like, watch your language. I'm retreating to the safety of my home. I'm going on a retreat. I see it as a retreat for myself, and that's what I'm doing. Whatever they are doing out there is up to them, so they can call it a lockdown or a quarantine. But for me, I'm retreating, and I'm going on a retreat, and I'm retreating to the safety of my home. And that to me made all the difference in the world. The language we use, I never felt like I was locked down. I never felt like I was limited. I felt like I had an opportunity to take a deep breath and say, okay, what's important to me? And during this pandemic, I have spent months in Canada, and I've been able to cross the border twice, even though the border is locked down. My daughter's in-laws, my son-in-law's parents, tried to cross the border and they were turned away. I knew when I got to the border, I was going to get through. And I told my husband I'm going back. My birthday is mid-January, and I'm going back to spend another 6 weeks with the grandbabies. And I said, and they're going to let me through. He goes, how do you know? I said, I just know they're going to let me through. And then I'm up here with my other grandson. And for their parents, it makes such a difference because there's nowhere you can leave a kid right now, right? And so if you don't have a grandparent who can come, you have no couple time. You can't go for a walk unless you have the baby. You can't go for a drive. I mean, you're with your baby like 24/7. So it really helps that my husband and I can come and we take the kid and we go hiking, and my daughter or my son have time to do couple things together, and it's been just a blessing. And in January, I'm going to talk about the blessings of 2020. I'm going to do the meeting in January, and I'm talking about the blessings of 2020 and envisioning your new normal, whatever that's going to be. Because if you come from a space where you're shifting your vibration, you will know in your heart of hearts that you're creating your new normal. Nobody is creating it for you. Governments are going to do what governments are going to do. January 20th is going to come and go, and whatever happens, happens. But you get to create your new normal, whatever it's going to be. My mother-in-law, we're spending time with her, and this morning she said, she's 84, and she said, my life expectancy is 86. And I said to her, unless you decide it's 90. And she just laughed, and I said, or you can decide you want to live till 100. And she's like, I don't think I can do that. And I said, yes, you to 100. And I said, and you will. And of course, she's skeptical, but she's beginning to understand that I'm coming from a different space. And so all of this doesn't matter. What matters is where your vibration is and where you're calling your vibration to be. So that was perfect, Shannon. I really, really liked what you had to say and your passion behind it. That's really, really important.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I actually am.
Thank you.
Every year, I around Christmas time, I always do a two for, buy two get one free, and this year it means a lot more to me because I've noticed that a lot of my clients are like, I'm going to take advantage of that because I'm going to need it, right? So I made it, feels like to me like I made it even more accessible. And every year I do it, but this year meant something to me because I made it more accessible to people. And so I'm happy to be able to walk my walk and to do it with people like you, that all of you that are there with me and that are truly the vibrational raisers, that you're actually truly doing the work and spreading that amazing, wonderful high vibration rather than the fear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Daniel, tell us about the course that you just started, that you were advertising.
Oh, the 4-week manifestation course?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Iris, my co-author on the first 2 books, Practical Manifesting and Pessimist Guide to Manifesting, we've spent the last 2 months or so curating a set of videos to create a 4-week course that takes you through the content of the book, with getting really clear on your vision, deciding what you want it to be, and then clearing your vibration to raise it up and take the action to make it actually come into reality. That it's this interesting balance, and connecting into what Shannon was sharing, that we get pulled into the low vibration of the lower chakras. And if we get stuck there, things tend not to happen because we get too heavy.
Mm-hmm.
But if we connect the higher chakras, the energetic work, to the strength of the lower chakras, which is connected to the 3-dimensional reality, and start molding that clay coming from the higher space, now we're actually making things happen. So there's power in both, and it's like being aware of, if I get stuck in fear, stuck in not feeling good enough, or stuck in fear of everybody, that's the reality we're going to creating from that lower fear-based space, rather than coming from the heart-centered space of love or the connection to the universe and infinite possibility, and using this stuff down here for what it's meant to be used for, which is actually the 3D construction.
Yeah.
Powerful. Jeannie, what's going on with you?
Well, one of the things I'm working on is planning next year. And so it's interesting because during the whole experience of all kinds of emotions that are heightened by other people, I always just sit in, I allow my highest good in every aspect of my life, and all is well.
Mhm.
And you know, there are things, there are obstacles and changes, and like both of our speakers have mentioned, um, things along the way. And as long as we have a loving mindset that's high energy and high purpose, we're just fine, you know. So I've traveled 3 times
Yes,
and
amazing.
successfully, and there's all kinds of people around me who are afraid for me or caring or whatever, and all is well. All is well. And I keep meeting people. I keep doing my educational workshops, you know, every month, and I'm going to plan those out. I started the planning this weekend after the one for winter wellness, holiday health. That was fun. And just using my essential oils to keep my vibration healthy. So life is good, and I am grateful. And I'm
And
grateful
you,
for your leadership of our group, and
oh, thank you.
Daniel. We've I don't know why. Maybe you can answer this question. There's such opportunity in this realm of the Holistic Chamber of Commerce, and very few people um, come to us.
Yeah, I think that it's a number of things, and one of them is first people get really busy, but I also think people are not right now. They're not really paying attention to their own self-care and their own self-growth. So they're not taking the time to sit back and be reflective, and they um, so they miss these opportunities because they get caught up in the busyness of doing things. Um, it's almost like I'm so busy driving, I can't stop to get gas, right? And then you realize that there's also the sharpening the saw. I'm so busy cutting down the tree, I don't have time to sharpen the saw. And you're cutting with a dull saw. It's like sometimes you need to take a deep breath, regroup, get with like-minded people, know that your vibration is going to be raised and that it keeps you going for a longer period of time. I am going to start, because we don't do happy hours, but I am going to try to start a second meeting each month. And I've been talking to Chantalyn. I actually reached out to all the different presidents from SoCal. Chantalyn and Francis from Tustin responded. And we joined the Santa Monica group last night. Francis and I did. And we had an idea, because Chantalyn is a party planner, and among other things, she has like 9 or 10 jobs that she does. She's incredible.
Yeah.
But we want to do a red carpet event as soon as all of this is over. We want to do an actual red carpet event where all the different chambers come together, and we all invited, and we'll just do a red carpet event so that we can reconnect with each other and be in a space with like-minded people who are all shifting vibration and raising the vibe and just being in that space. So I am going to try to create a second opportunity for us to meet, and I'll try to work that out, and I'll let you guys know what's going to be going on in January. So we'll have 2 opportunities for people to come together. And then I think I'm going to try to do, I know Camille puts out a list of when all the other chambers are meeting, but I'll try to do a better job of advertising that on our page so that you know when Tustin and Santa Monica and those guys are doing things, so that if you want to connect with people from those areas, we can do that as well, because there's some really good people all
Yeah,
around
I'm
all these different
working on
groups.
infrastructure myself, just to
Yes.
get the basics
Mm-hmm.
set up, and ready for uh, ready for more people to help.
Yes. And I think, like Shannon said, people are fearful right now. Even people in the holistic space are fearful. Part of why they're fearful is the financial. I think it's funny that we have people who are really afraid that we're becoming a cashless society. I see that as just part of the next step. I don't think money is going to be our driver the way it's been. I also think that corporate America is going to have a comeuppance. I don't know. My friends in the holistic space are already saying, I will never go back and work for corporate America. I'm never going to go back and do an 8 to 5 again. I have parents with high school kids who are saying they are never going to go back to that old school system with bells and you can't eat when you want to eat and you can't go to the bathroom when you want to go. High school students are already like, if there's a choice, Mom, I'm not going back.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a lot of shifts, things that we knew had to give way in our society because they were getting out of control. The driving on the freeway was getting out of control. Like Shannon said, we asked for this. And to a certain extent, I think there was a balance of we asked for it, and then Pachamama said enough. You know, after you started burning the lungs of the earth, because we burned the rainforest for I don't know how many months, and then all of a sudden we get a disease that is attacking our lungs. I think it was a little bit of a comeuppance to saying, you can't burn my lungs and think it's going to be okay, right? At some point, you need to like realize that you're not all that. Just because you're human, you're not all that. And you know what? I can whip you right back into shape. And I think Pachamama was just saying to us, you know, go to your room. Stop it. You're not going to keep destroying the earth just because you want another dollar, right? And some of us were saying, you can't just keep destroying the earth. And there was all these people who were like, we just need to burn the rainforest. I was like, but that's how the earth breathes. You can't. And so having a disease that comes at us that attacks the lungs is kind of like poetic justice or angelic justice or a message from the gods and the angels telling us, you know what, stop it. You're getting too big for your britches. Just stop it right now. You can't just go around destroying everything. That's not why you're here, right? Because it was interesting, those arguments when the rainforest was burning and people saying, oh, they're just a couple of trees, who cares? And it's like, no,
Oh, no.
they're
It's,
not.
you know, that whole thing about Black Lives Matter.
Yes,
Every life is precious.
right.
And it's interesting to see how people react or respond. There's so
Yes,
much creativity. So I appreciate your theme of all the blessings because, you know, I have more blessings than I can count.
yes. And you have to start counting your blessings.
Yes.
And I don't know how many people who, when they get into their rant on how angry they are or upset, I'm like, take a deep breath and count your blessings, how upset they get with me. There are no blessings.
No, I can't tell you how many more people I have shared hand yoga with for emotional release. There are so many people. I think one of the things that's happening is whatever was present is greatly magnified.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
like some people need a 2x4.
Yes, they do.
Well, this was fantastic. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Shannon. Do we have your contact information?
So anything else?
I can put it in
What
there.
do you want to tell us about your offer and what it is that you're doing?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
So what I do is I offer, I very seldom do 15-minute readings because we all know 15-minute sessions don't last 15 minutes. But I do during the holidays. They can prepay it for any time they want to, and it's $75 for 15 minutes. But then I also have for the 30-minute or the hour, if you buy 2, you get 1 free. And so essentially, if they paid for an hour, they would have 3 30-minute sessions. And so they can kind of choose how they want to do that. But it seems to be pretty popular with people, especially right now. They're like, okay, I can prepay this and I can use it over a period of time. So it's a good thing. And then this year, I really want to create bigger, better, more spectacular. I'm working on a soulmate class right now that actually 90% of the soulmate class is about us and about who we are and about discovering our what ifs and how we live on through our what ifs at this moment. And those what ifs transfer to each and every relationship that we have, and we're expectations on those relationships that this time the what if is going to be fulfilled, right? And so that soulmate class, I'm actually teaching it now. I'm doing it one-on-one with a lady, and I'm developing it as we're speaking. So I will do it either in groups or one-on-one with people, and it's really transformational.
Oh, I love that. I know so many people who are trying to find the right one, and I keep saying to them, first you have to become the right one.
You have to be the
First,
one.
you
Yes,
have to, yeah, the work starts with you first. You
that's
can't
right.
go out there on a dating site and find that whole notion just doesn't work. It's not about going out on a dating site and finding the one. It's about, have you done the internal work to become the one you want to be, to attract the one that you want, kind of a thing. So when you
Right.
said 97% is self-work, I was like, oh yes, resonates with me.
Yeah.
How do you become the one, not how do you find the one?
And it even works for actual real people that are in relationships as well. Because if you think about it, each person in that coupling can look at themselves.
Yes.
What am I expecting from my husband? What am I expecting from my wife? And what do we bring to this marriage? Or what do we bring into this coupling? Right?
Right.
And so I really feel like this is not just about drawing our soulmate, but it's about really, truly kind of our discovering ourselves and bettering our relationships because we know ourselves and because we can clear these old belief systems that are in our DNA and in our bodies and minds and cultures and everything else in this world.
Well, that would also work really well for parents who are having trouble with their teenagers.
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
Because so much of that has to do with unspoken, non-communicated expectations
Yes.
not being met, and then old patterns that parents are bringing forward
Yeah.
that they've never looked at, and so then they think that the teenager is the problem, and it's like they're just being them, and they have their own baggage, of course, that they're carrying from wherever. But that's really powerful.
Yes, and so I mean, it's about that authenticity, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to put my website in the chat. I'm sure that when we put this out, my website will be there, but I just wanted to put it in the chat for you guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. And if you want to put something, if you put something out on your page and tag me on it, I will share it to the holistic page, or you can just share it. I'm pretty sure I changed the settings so that everybody who's a member can just post and doesn't have to have their post pending and wait till I see it. So that was one of the member perks I decided. It also made my life easier because I think
that's good. Yeah.
Otherwise, it was too much work. I don't know how Daniel did it. It was like, okay, this is crazy making.
Yeah, for sure.
So everybody who's a member can just post straight up and not have to wait for an approval.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, on our page.
And I'll post after the meeting or tomorrow morning. There was a fundraiser started this morning for Daniel for the repairs at Catalina. And it's been shared by a couple of us, but I'll put it into the group as well so everyone can be aware of it and contribute if they can.
And I did buy a stone for the Long Beach Holistic Chamber.
Yeah, those will be, those will be going in probably in another, the building you've probably seen, he's been doing the updates. The building is constructed. They are building the altar off site. And once the altar comes in and it's placed, then all the stones will be placed because they don't want to break them traveling back and forth. They will actually be the last step in the construction.
Yeah, that's what he said. And I think he did ask us to send him what we wanted on the stones. I haven't done that yet. But yeah, it's a really nice opportunity to have your business blessed by the shamans by having a stone there, because they will be doing ceremony for placing of the stones. So
And there's only 7 left.
there's only 7 left.
7 left.
Yeah.
I need to contact Daniel then.
Yeah. If I find that email where he talks about the stones,
I can send it
forward
to you.
the
She
group.
just sent it to me to share to somebody, so I can
Okay,
kick it over to you.
okay. Yeah, that would be great. Share it with Shannon.
Awesome.
Because
Okay.
it's a great opportunity to just commemorate your business and have it blessed by, like Daniel said, the people there are just, the land is powerful and the people that live there are extremely powerful. Their
Yes.
blessings are definitely.
Daniel, would you include me in that email, please?
Sure.
And then I'll send you guys the altitude protocol.
Perfect. Thank you.
Perfect. And if that's okay with you, Janie, I'll share it with Daniel so he can share it with his groups that are coming.
Oh yeah, I sent it to him a long time
Oh,
ago.
okay.
But I can resend it because his life's been pretty full.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, thanks all of you, and I will send a recording to everybody that registered and everybody that's on the list, and then we will see you next month. And I think that's going to be on Tuesday, and that will be the second Tuesday.
It's going to be your blessings one, right? The blessings of 20.
Yeah, I'm going to do blessings, and then Christy's actually going to do our February meeting, and Daniel Hoover is then going to do the March meeting.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Very
and then
cool.
we're open after that. We'll find people who are interested in. But
Well,
yeah,
happy holidays,
Daniel was
whatever
gonna
you celebrate.
Daniel was going to do October, but he had a baby and he didn't realize how much work 2 kids were. So he wasn't ready. He's so sweet. He's like, if you don't mind, I would love to take March instead. I had no idea.
Good, good.
Yes.
Many blessings.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you.
Blessings.
Namaste.
Be well.
See you guys later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.